Hi everyone, I'm Wi-Fi Amanda, and today I'm here to present to you the ESS version 8.5. Now what's new about the 8.5 version is two major things, the spectrum analyzer integration and then custom nodes. Now apart from these two, we also have a bunch of smaller things like improved handling of CAD drawings and a lot of new APs and a lot of new antennas, as well as safer savings of project files. And now we're going to have a look at how it works. Alright, so the integration of the spectrum analyzer into ESS is one of the major new things in 8.5, and this means that now these guys are actually integrated into ESS. So before you could use the channelizer tool to have a look at the spectrum analysis, but now we have our own tool right here in ESS. And as you can see, ESS looks just as before, except there's this bar down here. And this is now what we call the real-time frequency monitor, or the RTFM. You open it like this. All right, so in the real-time frequency monitor, we have a bunch of new stuff. This combines spectrum data and the Wi-Fi signals. So this actually replaces the old Wi-Fi signals table. And let's start up here to the left. So here we have Wi-Fi signals over time. And this is a 2-minute period. Below that we have the spectrum over time. So this is the guy that used to be flipped, or it's flipped the other way around in the channelizer tool, and there it's called the waterfall view. And here we just put it this way because it looks better. And below these two, we have the active survey. So here, these green guys here are the round trip times, and if we had any packet losses, those would be red dots or like poles, like these guys here. So yeah, this is now a 2-minute period, like I mentioned, and this white part of it is at the moment a 1-minute period, so it grays the rest of that. And that's because here in the combined spectrum and Wi-Fi view, Wi-Fi signals view, we have, this is now gathering data from 1 minute. So we can choose this time interval that it gathers data from. And whenever we choose that, it changes what's viewed here as well. So up here, if we change that to just 5 seconds, it's going to gather data from just the previous 5 seconds here to this spectrum and Wi-Fi signal view. And here you can see that the white part is also just like a thin line over there. So I'm going to change that back to 1 minute. This replaces the old Wi-Fi signals table and integrates the spectrum data into the same view. So here we can see where we have APs and on what channels and how crowded it is on those channels and so on. So here if I highlight one of these or just keep the mouse on it, then you can see it on the list. It's the yellow guy there. Alright, so here in the list of radios, we have the names and the MAC addresses, and we've paired them nicely together with the SSIDs of the APs. And here we can see what technology they support, so NG and AC and so on and so forth, and also what data rate they support. So this guy, for instance, is 1 to 144.4 megs, and as we can see, a lot of these guys are left on with the 1 meg enabled, which is probably not so good. And the next line here are the, what is this called? Next box are the channels. And we can see there's some insanity going on here. Someone's using a 40 meg channel on a 2.4 gig spectrum. And we have the signals here to the far right. And up here, we can change to a channel view. And now this gives you a view per channel. So for instance here, this channel number 6, we can see that at the moment the number of radios and the overlap and the utilization and also the noise for that channel. And yeah, there we have it. So if you hold your mouse still, you get more information on both lists. Okay, so all of this that we just had a look at was for 2.4 gig, and up here you can change it as usual to 5 gig. And what's great about this is actually that if you click here, so this is where we got the whole RTFM up. So if we click down, it's gone again. If we click up, we get it back. And if we click up again, we get both views. So up here we now have 2.4 gig, and here we have 5 gig. Woo! And even better, if we click this icon up here, pop out, we get a different window. So you could actually have ESS and the frequency monitor on different screens at the same time. Amazing, huh? All right, let's have a look at map-based spectrum analysis. So before we do that, let's have a couple words about performing a survey with spectrum analysis. So what you need is a spectrum analyzer connected to your computer. You can have one or two, as we have right now. So these are now working simultaneously. And up here, we can see what they're doing. So this one guy is on 2.4, so he's scanning channels 1 through 14. And if we open it up, like I did just now, we can actually adjust what channels it's scanning. And this other one here is then scanning channels 36 through 165. Right next to them, we have the NICs, which are performing the active and passive survey. So this active survey is done by the integrated NIC, and the passive survey is done by the external NIC. You can see there. So yeah, if you have a spectrum analyzer connected to your computer, you are ready to go. All right, so we're gonna have a look at an example file where we did, here we go. We did a site survey with the spectrum analyzers attached. So as normal, we have a heat map here. And in the drop-down menu, we have two newcomers. We have the spectrum channel power and the spectrum utilization. First, we're gonna look at the spectrum channel power. Now these two are both spectrum-based. So we're interested in how crowded the spectrum is, or how, in this case for the spectrum channel power, how loud it is in this spectrum, or in a certain place. So on this map here, for every given point, it's looking at the channel power. And right now it's looking at the channel power over all the channels. We can choose to look at just one channel, or we can choose to have this all channel situation to see, to get sort of a worst case scenario where the power is highest. So what's really important to remember now is that the spectrum analyzer doesn't make a difference between whether the power is coming, or the signal is coming from an AP or from some interferer who's active on the same frequency. So up here at options, we can choose whether we want to display maximum over all channels, as we were doing now, or on just one channel. The other heat map that's new for the spectrum analysis is the spectrum utilization. So this guy gives us a view of how crowded the spectrum is, or the frequency is. And down here in the bar, you can see that so this is sort of a percentage of how utilized the spectrum or the frequency is. So at like how much of the time is some given frequency being used. And again here, we can choose to display sort of the worst case scenario, so we're looking at all channels at the same time, and we will just get red dots where there is high utilization on some channel, or we can choose to have a look at just one channel at once. So now it's maximum over all channels, and we can choose to, did it do it? Yeah, I think it did. Yeah, now we're on 11. To look at just channel 11 like this. Okay, so for in-depth analysis of spectrum and Wi-Fi, we do just as before. We click the survey inspector up here. And now we get the same view as we did in the beginning with the real-time frequency monitor, only now it's not real-time, it's a snapshot of when you were doing the site survey. So right now we're in this spot when we were doing the site survey, and we can see the same things as in the real-time frequency monitor, so how the spectrum was behaving and the history and so on. And down here we can move where we were. So now we can see that the point we are investigating is moving. We can also, of course, just move it manually by clicking like that. Then we see another snapshot. And we're still going to have a look at the custom notes. Okay, so for the custom notes, I emptied the map so that you can see them better. We're going to go from the survey tab to the planning tab. And up here you can see we have a new button. This is the custom notes. So here we can add several different types of notes. Whoops. We can add a text note. So something about the project or about some specific place on the map, or we can add a picture. So we can either import a picture that we have, or we can even use the web camera. This can get really fun, probably. This is the best feature in 8.5. And also, greetings to Blake Crowney. We now have an area note. So if you have information that covers some certain area and you want to add a note specifying that, you know, this isn't part of the project, or that we don't need Wi-Fi in that area, that's also great. And last but not least, we have a cable note. We can even change the color of the cable. This is amazing. And now it shows you how much cable you've used. So that's also really useful. Those were the custom notes. And now we can say, so cable used and amount. Great. Yeah, so this is 8.5 spectrum analysis and custom notes. And there were some smaller new features as well, but you can try those out for yourselves. Have a blast. Thanks.